You scroll through hundreds of job descriptions, but they all sound the same. You spend so much time on every application, but it doesn't seem to matter. You send off application after application, but never hear back. You thought the interview went so well, but it's a no. You jump through all the hoops. The news keeps saying how there are all these employers that are struggling to find people to hire. So why does finding a great job have to be so hard? It doesn't seem very logical or fair. It's not. The system is broken. It's not your fault. The process most people go through to get a job is awful. But here's the good news. The system isn't very smart. In fact, it's downright dumb. It can be beaten. How? Most prospective employers and employees today are using the same old tired strategies that have been around forever. It's like professional camouflage. Everybody just blends into the crowd. But you don't have to be that way anymore. You can get traction. You can stand out from the crowd to unleash your God-given potential, to help a world in need, to do work that matters, to earn what you and your family deserve. You can do this. You're meant to do this. There are bright things on the horizon for you. This is the way. Workshop. Get hired fast without settling, getting ignored, or losing hope. My name is Eric Woodard. I'm a high-performance career and leadership coach based outside of Washington, D.C. And if you're here for this workshop today, my friends, you're in the right place. Really acknowledge you for being here. And if you're watching the replay, you're almost as cool as the people who are here live. Not quite as cool, but also pretty cool. And I can see so many of you in the chat already, right? Like a bunch of you I see, like Bobby and David and Trent and Patty and Glenn and Eric and Nisha and like all kinds of, I see you there, Norma. So look, if you would put in the chat where you're from and how long you've been on the job search, because I mostly want to make sure, hey there, Bobby, I want to make sure people can hear me. And we're going to go without much further ado. I see there, Brendan in San Diego. You know, sometimes being on a job search can feel like pounding sand, right? It can really feel like pounding sand there. But I see there, North Carolina, 6 months. I see you there, Jason and Raleigh. Sometimes it can feel like waiting on a glacier, Timothy in Newport News and Dane in Grand Rapids and Bill in Cincinnati and Hakeem, right? And Norma in Philly and Courtney in Detroit. Sometimes it can feel like wandering through the desert, Trent in New York City and Ronnie in Arizona and Ethan, right? In Surprise, Arizona. You know, sometimes Carla in Fredericksburg, and it can feel like wandering into an arena, Nisha in Canada. Sometimes it can feel like looking into an abyss, Claire in Oregon and Patty in Wexford, right? So who is this for? If you're somebody who's unsure about the direction you want your career to go, Sween in Virginia and Brandon. If you're somebody who's struggling to find ways to describe what you do, Pallavi in Dallas. If you're uncertain if your resume is any good, Adam in Oakland. If you've been wrestling with how to follow up after you apply, Madvi in Toronto. I was just in Toronto this weekend, right? If you're tired of applying and hearing nothing back, if you've been doing interviews that seem to go great and you're still going to know, if you're trapped in a job you don't like and you're trying to escape, hope that's not you, Teresa in Oregon, right? Although it looks like maybe it is. And especially if you're losing hope, you're in the right place. On the other hand, my friends, if you're somebody who's super casual about your career, if you're not willing to do the work, if you're reluctant to take responsibility for the results you get, if you're just interested in finding a job to make money, if you're sort of stuck in your ways and closed-minded, you know a lot of things, if you're unwilling to be authentic, this may not be the workshop for you. And look, you know, I actually thought about this as I got ready for this workshop, because one of the things I'm going to offer you today is authenticity is your superpower, right? And we want to be willing to offend people in the name of service. So I want to be really clear with you, right? Like at the end of this presentation, I've got an invitation. I work with people. We create miracles. And if you're offended by that, if you're like, oh, he charges money, that's okay. I'm okay for you to be here because you're still going to learn a lot. And if you're somebody who already knows you need help, like we already have the receipts, we know the stuff I'm about to offer you works. What I would invite you to consider as you listen to this presentation is, are you worth it? Right? Are you worth an investment to get different results than the results you've been getting? So that's my request. So what you're going to learn in this workshop, how to get hired fast without settling, getting ignored, or losing hope. I'm going to offer you 4 strategies, 9 tactics that can help you elevate your career today so that you can do work that matters and pays what you and your family deserve. So our agenda for today, I'm just going to talk just for a second so you know where I'm coming from, know a little bit about who the hell I am. I'm going to offer you 4 strategies, 9 tactics. Again, I have an invitation for those of you. I know some of you have already reached out. You've already heard the results we get. You're already like, oh my God, Eric, can we work with you? So if you already know that's you, go ahead. You can book a call. We've got a little bit of time today and then some time the rest of this week and early into next week. If you already know you want to book a call, I'm going to talk more about that. So if you don't know what that is, hold off on booking. But if you already know what that is and you're somebody who yeah, I want to make an investment and I'm ready to show up and I'm not going to ghost you, and then that's fine. But we're going to talk more about that if you're not sure what the hell I'm talking about. And then we're going to have a lot of time for questions. I see you there, Susie in Portland. All right, so here we go. Who is this guy and why does he think he can help me find a job? Well, I don't know if I can help you find a job. I've helped a lot of people. But let me tell you where I'm coming from. I grew up in Asia, right? Came to the States when I was 17, wound up transferring college 7 times. Wound up as a scuba instructor on the island of Guam, spent about 10,000 hours underwater with a bunch of fish. And after I did that for a while, I was like, man, my brain is kind of spongy. I thought, I got to do something about my career. So I thought, what would be the most prestigious sort of job I could apply to? And I thought, well, that must be like the White House. So I took out a piece of paper and wrote a letter to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I said, hey, you should hire me. It was like the worst letter you've ever seen. And I figured I'd never hear back, whatever. But about a month later, I was going past the Guam post office and the guy came out with this envelope and he's like, Eric, you got a letter from the White House. And I opened it up and it was an internship application. Now, I didn't know what the hell an internship was, but I was really good at filling out applications. So I filled that out, sent it in, figured I'm never hearing from those guys, but at least I got that cool envelope. I thought that was pretty cool. And that got me thinking. I applied to some grad schools. I got into GW here in DC and I showed up and I was sort of had a big bushy haircut and was dumpster diving for furniture. And I bought a pair of running shoes. I was out running past the White House one day and I was like, those White House bastards, they never even bothered to let me know about that internship thing. What's up with that? So I found a payphone, put in a quarter, called him up, said, hey, what's going on, you White House bastards? You never let me know about that internship thing. And they're like, is this Eric from Guam? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm in DC now. They're like, man, we've been trying to get in touch with you. You're supposed to start in the First Lady's office on Monday. So I was like, that's interesting. So I got a haircut, bought a suit, and I showed up. Now, look, folks, I know there's a lot of politics in our country right now. I don't know if your politics match mine, and it doesn't matter because I'm here to serve you, whoever you are. But this was back during the Clinton administration. I went to work for Hillary Rodham Clinton. She was a great boss, and I wound up getting hired on her staff in Hillary Land, followed her to the Senate, right, where I was there for her whole term. And then eventually I wound up at the State Department where I did stuff with UNESCO. And eventually I left Hillary Land and wound up as director of fellowships and internships at the Smithsonian Institution. And all during this time, early professionals, mid-career professionals, senior professionals, all different industries, I would see the same movie over and over again where people were trying to figure out their careers and had trouble with it. Right. So I've given a lot of talks. I do a lot of interviews. I've written a bunch of books. I have a whole bunch of pieces of very impressive paper, right, around career stuff, helping people figure out this job stuff, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's really bad advice, as you've probably been experiencing firsthand. And I have all sorts of testimonials, and you don't care about any of that. Because what you care about is, can I help you find a job? Right? Can I help you find a job? I don't know. Let's find out, right? Let's go to these 4 strategies. So Eric's saying, did I see Dale Learn in the background? I'm not sure who Dale Learn is. I don't know who that is. Thank you, Nisha. I appreciate that. So let's get in these 4 strategies. All right. So let me ask it right now. What is a good resume about? Let's see if anybody gets it right. I tend to give away stuff to those that do. Okay, what's a good resume about? If you would put it in the chat, and let's see if anybody gets the right answer. There's a little bit of a delay between I ask stuff and the chat, so it's fine. I know you're coming. What's a good resume about? Who knows? Does anybody have an idea? What's that? Oh, Teresa says it's about attitude. I see you there, Teresa. Bobby says it's results. Aaron says achievements. Okay, let's see who else we got coming in here. So Jason says experience, but what I can offer the company, keywords, right? Communicating your skills and value to the potential employer. I haven't seen the right answer yet. Showcasing you as a person, telling what I can do for them, right? Yeah, Mark, we want him to generate an interview request. That's right. But what's a resume about? If we wanted to, Kathleen, it's about me. Okay, benefits I can provide a potential employer. Nobody's got the right answer yet. Shows your skills. Okay, so here's what a lot of you are saying. A lot of you are saying a good resume is about me. And that's wrong. Because if we want to be influential with another human being, we don't want to talk about ourselves. We want to talk about them. A good resume isn't about you, my friends. A good resume is about them. And if you get nothing out of this workshop today, get this. This will change your job search. A good resume is about them. It's not about you. It's about the person or organization you're sending it to. And it's no wonder we might think it's about us, because when we probably filled out our first resume, it was probably coming out of school. And in school, it is about us. It's our cubby. It's our worksheet. It's our desk. It's our transcript. It's our trophy. It's our diploma. And yet when we move to the working world, it's not about us. It's about the constituent, the client, the customer, the shareholder. It's not about us at all. So one immediate thing you can do that's going to drastically increase your ability to get traction in your job search is make it about them, because that's who employers are focused on, right? They're focused on themselves. And look, good employers take care of their people, and that's a means to an end. It's not an end unto itself. Make the application about them. And when I say application, I'm talking about the cover letter, the follow-up, the networking. It's all about them, Susie and Chad and Nisha. All right. We're already moving on to strategy number 2. So if I went to a library and I went to a shelf full of storybooks, and I looked at the front cover of one of those storybooks, there's some words. What do we call the words on the front cover of those storybooks, or any book for that matter? What are those words called on the front cover of a storybook? Thanks, Jessa. We got Jessa helping us today. She's a rock star, right? What are the words on the front cover of a book? Bobby Nelson, first out of the gate. So Bobby Nelson and Jason Bush, you're the first two I saw. We're going to send you a free course on how to make your LinkedIn profile awesome. And you're right, Jeremy and Jason and Bobby. It's so just to make sure we get Bobby Nelson and Jason Bush, we're going to send in that free LinkedIn course profile. Awesome, right? The words on the front cover of a book are called a title. Now, isn't it interesting that's the same term we use to label people in the workplace? Which tells me that very much like we might put a label on a storybook, we put labels on the story of our career, which brings me to strategy number 2, which is stories, right? You want to tell stories. Let me ask another question here. What % of human decision-making do you think is emotional versus what % is logical? So what's the percentage? There you go. Good job, Jessa, right? Is it 50-50, 60-40, 40-60? So what's the ratio? And let's see, Teresa's got a thing here. Strategy number 1, about them, also means how. So it's not, so Teresa, I appreciate that question. It's not about selling yourself, right? It's not, and we'll maybe come back to your question. Okay, I haven't seen the right answer yet. So Bobby says 95, Carla says 70, Patty says has, Chris says 70. I haven't seen the right answer yet, right? What % of it is emotional versus what % is logical? Nobody's got the right answer yet. Except Ronnie says 75. Nobody's got the right answer. Nicholas says it's more logical than emotional. Okay, nope. Okay, so here's the thing, folks. It's 100% emotional. Human decision-making is 100% emotional. And the reason we know it is because when somebody gets that part of their brain damaged, the limbic system damaged, they're fine. There you go, Norma Jordan, first one out of the gate. So let's make sure we send Norma Jordan that course LinkedIn. Yeah, good job, Norma. Right? It's 100% emotional, right? When somebody gets their limbic system damaged, they're fine, except they can't make a single decision. And that's the debilitating part. All these cats walking around saying, we make data-driven decisions. Yeah, they are full of it. Nobody does. Our decision making is emotional and it happens very quickly. And then we spend a lot of time trying to rationalize the emotional decision. You know what? I see you there, Daniel. Let's make sure Daniel Demaria gets one of those courses too. Yeah. Oh, and I guess Glenn's, you know what? Let's take care of Glenn, Sean, and Patty. Glenn, Sean, and Patty, Jessa. Looks like we had some others that said 100. So thanks for standing up for your fellow workshop people, Glenn. We're going to take care of you too. Okay. So there's a bunch of people that just got that free LinkedIn course. It's 100% emotional. Okay. And like when you got on this workshop, you very quickly decided what you thought of me, whether you thought the content I was going to offer was worth a damn. Like you decided it very quickly. And now you're just spending time in this workshop trying to rationalize, your fact gathering. But you've already decided, right? And so it's emotional. And the reason stories are so important is Maya Angelou's taught us, right? Stories are how people are going to remember how we make them feel. And that's why stories are so important. You want to have stories in your resume, your cover letter, your interview, your follow-up, your networking, stories everywhere. And if you don't have stories, no bueno, amigo, right? That's all the Spanish I speak. I'm sorry. So perfect example. One time I was taking applications for a program and Maggie, by the way, notice I'm telling a story. Maggie wrote in and she wrote how the summer before she'd been in a terrible car accident and her arm had been severed. Oh man, what a bummer, right? So I was like, we got to take Maggie. So preparing for Maggie to come, making sure there's accessibility. Maggie walks in the first day, 2 arms. Now it was bandaged from where it had been partially severed and reattached, and she was doing some physical therapy. She was going to be okay. And was I mad? Of course not. I was so happy she had both her arms. And I remember that story to this day. Stories. You want to tell lots of stories. Okay, who can tell me who this guy is? What is this guy's name? I'll give you a hint. He's from Idaho. What's this guy's name? What's this guy called? I bet some of you might. Adam Miller, first out of the gate, right? Let's make sure we send a LinkedIn course to Adam Miller. Exactly. This is Napoleon Dynamite. And if some of you are like, who the hell is Napoleon Dynamite? Please, stop your job search. Go watch this movie because we're trying to create a society here, people. I mean, really, please, right? And for those of you who haven't seen this movie, I don't want to spoil it. Here's the setup. Napoleon's a high school kid. He sort of beats to his own drum. He finds himself on stage in front of his entire high school. The entire student body's there. And he's got to do some kind of performance. Now, he's managed to get a cassette tape up to the sound booth. Right? He's managed and Brandon, I'm sorry about that, buddy. You know what? There may be a delay wherever you are. So Brandon, we're going to take good care of you, man. We're going to send you that LinkedIn course, which you may be hearing actually later than you're reading this. So anyway, but anyhow, Napoleon's got to do a performance and it's impromptu. So Napoleon proceeds to do this crazy dance. I mean, metaphorically, he opens the kimono. It's the wildest damn thing you've ever seen. And when it's done, he's sort of sweating and panting, and the entire student body's like this. And then they burst into applause. And the reason they do is because, and Philomena, you know what? I like people who ask for what they want. We're going to send you a course too. Right? Philomena, we're going to send you a course too, right? The reason they burst into applause is because it's so authentic. Jamie Kern-Lima, the founder of It Cosmetics, says, everybody's a good dancer if they commit fully. And she's right. And this brings us to strategy number 3, which is authenticity. People are going to hire you because of who you are, not in spite of it. Let me ask you a question. Who do humans hire? I'll tell you, humans. Humans hire humans. Now, some of you are like, but what about the ATS? What about the algorithms? Child, please. First of all, there is no almighty matrix, Skynet ATS system. There isn't. Different organizations use different kinds of software to sort their applications. That's true. And all of them are different. And at the end of the day, it's a human that decides anyway. So stop trying to please the computers. Folks, you have thumbs. At least most of you, I hope you do, right? Which means humans hire humans. The opportunity is not for you to be less human, it's to be more human. Let all of your competitors worry about ATS and all the algorithms and all that kind of stuff. You focus on being the best version of Glenn and Susie and Anthony and Jess and Chad, right? You got a delicious bass. That's amazing. Okay. Humans hire humans. So you want to be human. You want to be relatable. If you don't have evidence on your resume that you're a human, that could be a problem. That could be the reason you're not getting as much traction as you want to. You want to have evidence that you're a human. So, for example, one time I had 2 resumes. They were virtually identical. One guy, Tom, told me he played the trumpet. The other guy didn't. Who did I choose? We hired Tom because at least he played the trumpet. I can't tell you how often I work with clients who are stuck in their job search, and we show them how to be more human, and instantly they get traction, right? We had a lady last fall. She put on her resume 2 truths and a lie. Brilliant. She got 2 interviews and 2 offers just from doing that. So now I put it on my resume because it's such a good idea. But Crystal says, but if you don't get through ATS, a human won't ever look at your resume, right? Crystal, I send you lots of love and light, and that's an interesting story you've bought into. How's that working for you, Crystal? And I hear you. At least in those big companies who use them. Yeah, like I hear you, the Amazons and the Googles, they do have software. And at the end of the day, Crystal, it's possible for you to just circumvent that stuff. It's not that hard. Hey, and Hakeem, you just booked a call, man. Hakeem, we look forward to talking to you, Hakeem, right? So Hakeem, you're going to show up. You're not going to reschedule, and you're going to get ready to be started, and you're going to be open to making an investment. I know that's true because you have to click those things when you book a call. So really look forward to seeing you, Hakeem. So Crystal, I really hear you on that, and we might come back to you. Thanks for starting that, Jessa. Okay, authenticity is your superpower. Okay, strategy number 4. Abe Lincoln, give me 6 hours to cut down a tree, and you bet, Hakeem, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Okay, sharpening the axe. So this what we're talking about here is systems. My friends, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not that you got mustard on your shirt, or it's not your experience or anything that's saying. The results you're currently getting in your job search are perfectly equal to your current system. So if you want to get different results, the opportunity for you is to change your system, right? You don't want to get into the business of working hard. You want to work smart. And if what you've been doing hasn't been working, you want to iterate. Right? And that's what we do. That's what we help people. This isn't about you. It's your systems. What a lot of you have been doing up till now is this is your current system. And I got to hand it to you, folks. I take my hat off to you because you've done a lot with this system. And you got the sticky gear shift and, and you're wondering why you can't steer the ship to job seeking success. And here's what you might not know. This is what's available. Right? Now you can spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to get from here to here, a lot of time and money, or you just get somebody to show you, right? And we know that you have settings, right? There are settings here that are going to work for you. We don't know exactly what they are, but we've worked with a lot of people, so we have a sense of what they are. And the reason to work with somebody to figure this out is you're just going to save so much time. So here's what I'm talking about. How do you put this all to work? So I want to just show an example. We're going to get into the tactics next. Of somebody that we worked with earlier this year. Her name was Angel, and she attended this workshop just like you. She wound up booking a call and working with us and paid us some money, and she got hired real damn fast. If we could, Jessa, let's show them that now, please. In the time we've got left, I'm curious, especially if there's somebody we haven't heard from yet. They've had a win, a loss. Angel, I got to ask you, what do we know, if anything? What do we know?
I got the job! Yay!
Whoa!
The offer. I'm moving in a week. Yeah, it's crazy. And I know when we first met, you're like, oh, like, let's get something by your birthday. And my birthday is in 4 days, so I was able to do it. Yay!
And I just want to acknowledge you. Like, you dove in, you did it, you did the work.
Thank you.
Way to go.
It would have been possible without signing up for this program, truly. I think it made the difference for me.
So good, Angel.
Yeah.
Really happy for you.
Yeah.
Super awesome. Congratulations to you. Yeah. All right. Hey, Glenn and Patrick, I see you there. I'm going to talk about the program a little bit later. And yeah, we got payment plans. And Glenn, I really hear you about, being out of work and family can't afford. And hang tight. We're going to talk about this because we got a lot of options here. Okay. So how do you put all of this to work? All right, buckle up because here we go. All right. If you get nothing else from this workshop, I really want you to pay attention here because this is important. let's say there's a lake, and in the middle of the lake, someone's drowning. Now they're surrounded by other people in little boats. Okay, they're surrounded by other people in little boats. So somebody's in the middle of the lake drowning, and they're surrounded by other people in little boats. Metaphorically, if that was a job search, who's the person drowning? If you would put it in the chat, please. Who's the person drowning, right? So lake, somebody's drowning in the middle. They're surrounded by other people in little boats. If that was a job search, who's the person drowning? Put it in the chat if you would, please. Right? Put it in the chat if you would, please. So Robert says me. I hear you, Robert. Right? Yeah. So Chris says you. I don't see it. The job seeker says Patty. Okay. Person without a strategy. I may feel that way. I haven't seen the right answer yet. The old woman who can't compete with the young. Oh, Teresa, I send you lots of love. Oh, wait, Jesse Hans, first right answer. Good job, Jesse Hans. We're sending you that LinkedIn course. A lot of you are feeling like it's me. I'm the one drowning. It's not. It's the employer. David says everybody's drowning, right? It's the employer that's drowning. And the reason they're drowning, the reason we know they're drowning is they've told us. They put up a job listing to say, hey, we're drowning. Now, some of you are proceeding your job search like, help, I'm drowning, pick me. And the employer who's in the water is like, damn, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure about that. Others of you are in the boat and you're like, hey, you're drowning. That's terrible. Let's have a conversation to see how we can get your rear end out of the water. What's not important here is that I'm the one that pulls you out. What's important here is you don't drown and die. And this brings us to strategy or tactic number one, which is your mindset, right? If you've got a mindset of pick me, sell yourself, I'm the best. Nah, no drowning employer wants that, right? Instead, what they're looking for is for somebody who's coming from a place of service. And remember, there's lots of jobs out there. There's only one David and Jason and Bill and Evan and Daniel, right? You want to approach this from a place of service. So we're going to talk more about this. And by the way, people don't want to be sold. Like we've gone over this historically, right? Selling people's weird, buying people's even worse. So if you've been operating your job search through the lens of, I got to sell myself, stop. And by the way, you don't need me to tell you how was that working for you? Yeah, probably not so great. Okay, on to tactic number two. All right, Jason, I see you. All right, I see you avoiding the fake jobs. I got you on that one, right? Maybe we'll star that one, Jessa. So, yeah. Hey, it looked like Shamarie Perkins booked a call. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. Shamarie, that's a beautiful name. So Shamarie, you're going to show up for the call. You're not going to reschedule, and we're going to see what's possible for you. Way to go. Nice. Looking forward to talking with you, Shamarie. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. So some of you have seen the call Deadliest Catch, right? Where there's these Alaskan fishermen and they go out on the open water and it's kind of dangerous. And what they do is they wind up putting these big steel cages on the bottom of the ocean floor and they put a little bait in there and crabs come along, right? Bob the crab joins and there's Cheryl the crab. You're afraid to call Teresa. That's okay. Stick around, Teresa. Don't worry. We're going to talk to you. Hey, don't worry, Glenn. We'll make sure you're taken care of. Jessa, we could make sure that Glenn's taken care of. But like, they put cages on the bottom, right, of the ocean floor with bait, and different crabs come in and more join eventually, and before we know it, the cage is full of crabs, but the bait is gone, and so Bob the crab's like, I'm out of here, boys, and so Bob starts to leave, and here's the interesting part: the other crabs will pull that crab back in. They'll even I see. Yeah, good job, Glenn. We got you. Thanks, Jessa. Right? They'll even pull off one of those crab's legs, or they'll even commit a crab murder. It's very sad. And this brings us to the next tactic, which is your environment, right? Your environment. A lot of us are thinking, hey, and you know what, Brandon, you're exactly right. If we could, Jessa, if you don't mind, drop the link to the call. And it's on the bottom here, Brandon. It's on the bottom of the slide if you don't see it. Thanks, Jessa. I appreciate that. So many of you are booking calls. You're distracting me. It's okay. But we want to talk about the environment, right? The environment. A lot of us think it's our motivation or we're lazy or procrastinating, or maybe we had a mean boss three jobs ago. And if that's you, I'm sorry, that sucks. And your environment eats all that stuff for lunch, right? And this can be the people you surround yourself with, your physical environment, the media you're consuming, the stories you're telling yourself, right? It's really, really, really important that you want to optimize your environment, right? You may have heard the idea of reference groups, right? We're the average weight, income, education of the 5 people we hang out with the most. And it's true with our environment. If we're surrounded by a family that loves us and they're saying things like, ooh, just settle. Oh, are you sure you're qualified for that job? They're saying that to keep you safe because they love you and it's not particularly helpful. So you want to optimize your environment to really support your job search. You want to safeguard it. It's super important. Okay, on to tactic number 3. We are trucking along, right? It's hard to hit a blurry target. Sometimes I'll talk to potential job seekers and I'll say, how much do you want to make? And they'll be like, anywhere from $50,000 to $150,000. What do you want to do? Well, I want to help people. I'm like, that's super beautiful. And it's really vague. And it brings us to tactic number 3, which is vision, right? There's a proverb that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And I would say where there is no vision, the job seeker perishes. You want to have the map before you go into the forest. And if you don't have that clarity around what's possible by them hiring you, how will they have that clarity? They won't. So, and again, some of you are, oh, Glenn, sorry you lost sound, buddy. Hopefully that's not everybody. If other people have lost sound, tell me, right? But you want to have clarity around your stuff. It's not just nice to have, it's vital. There's a reason that when NASCAR drivers, right, drive 500 miles in a circle, thanks, Bobby, that they don't look at the outer wall. Good job, Glenn, right? They don't look at the outer wall because the car's going to tend to go where they look. And if they look at the wall, they're going to crash, right? And so if you feel like you're in your job search driving around in circles, it's probably because you don't have clear vision around where you want to go. It's really important. Okay, another opportunity for you guys. Here we go. Thanks, Robert. I appreciate that. If I went to a store and I bought this, what would I be buying? If you would, put it in the chat, please. If I went to a store and I bought this, what would I be buying? Who's going to know, right? So Bobby says a tool, right? Bobby says a tool. So Chris, hi there, Chris, says a cordless drill, right? David says a paperweight. Ethan says, okay, Timothy says an impact driver. James says a feeling. Ooh, James, I kind of like your answer. Okay, James is close. Actually, James, you know what? James, I think you got it right? Where's James? I saw you up here, James, right? We got to find James. Oh, yeah, James McCrea says a feeling. James McCrea says a feeling. And James, I like your answer because actually nobody. So, Jessa, let's make sure we send James McCrea that LinkedIn course. Nobody goes and actually needs one of these things, right? Nobody needs one of these things sitting around their garage. I don't need this. What I actually need is a hole. And actually, now that I think about it, I don't even want a hole. I don't want a bunch of holes in my house. What I actually need is a place to put the hook. And actually, I don't want a bunch of hooks, right? I'll gash my arm open, a bunch of hooks come out of my wall. What I actually need is a place to hang the photo. And actually, I don't even really want the photo. What I actually want, James, is the feeling I get when I look at the picture of my beautiful family that's hanging on the hook, that's in the hole that was made by the drill. And this brings us to tactic number 4, which is we want to give them safety. A lot of job seekers are just focused on themselves, right? They're saying, me. Let me tell you what I'm passionate about, what I'm good at. Let me sell myself. That's just a hot dumpster fire. Others, and sometimes people watch this workshop and they come back to me 6 months later and they're like, it's not working. And this is what they're doing, right? They're focused on the drill. And the opportunity is to focus instead on the thing that keeps them up at night while they're, laying in bed, right? Trying to go to sleep. If you can focus on that, black swan, game over. Do you see how this is so much more sophisticated and powerful than trying to hide your age or trick the ATS? We're just working at a different level here, folks. That's why a lot of the job advice you're getting out there is not helping you, because this is what matters. This is how you get hired fast. Hey, Danielle Pearson, look forward to talking to you. You're going to be there, Danielle. No canceling, right? We want to get this job stuff handled for you, Danielle. Okay, so many struggle with getting really clear about what they, meaning the employer, right? The ATS has feelings too, right? Want or need. But if you can get to what keeps them up at night, right? It really matters. How can you make them feel seen, heard, and understood? By the way, we're going to talk about interviews here in a second, and this comes into play. All right, we're on to tactic number 4. Here we go. This is a copy of one of my resumes. Now, my resume is sort of like a model home of resumes, right? It's like the kitchen sink of resumes. And this brings us to tactic number 5, which is paper. Now, look, resumes are stupid. The idea that we're going to boil our lives down to a couple pages is kind of ridiculous. And it's the least bad way we've come up with so far. So when I say paper, I mean your cover letter, your follow-up, your resume, all the things, right? So many people are trying to use best practices with my resume. My resume looks like everybody else. Yeah, you don't want that to happen, right? At all, right? Because it's professional camouflage. Realize that your communication is just a piece of, how your resume is just, it's a communication piece. How you use it, where you send it to whom, when, it all really matters. And you want to communicate with potential employers in a way they cannot ignore. It's one of the things we help our clients do. So for instance, how many of you have hyperlinks in your resume? Where are your hyperlinks? That's just one example of about 1,000 things you can do to really elevate your stuff, right? Really elevate your stuff. Okay, on to the next tactic, tactic number 6. If a job application is submitted and there is no follow-up, does it even make a sound? I would humbly suggest it doesn't. And this brings us to tactic number 6, which is follow-up. Now, some of you are like, well, I follow up, right? When I get an interview. Nah. I'm talking about with the application. And some of you, I can hear it now, are like, but Eric, a lot of times when I apply, they don't put the contact info on there. If the person you love most in the world was a hostage and the only way you could get them released was to contact somebody at that company by the end of the day, do you think you could figure it out? I bet you could. And yet it could be that your family's like prosperity depends on you getting a job, no pressure. And somehow it's a different situation where like, I don't want to bug them. This brings us back to the lake, actually, right? So let's say you're in the boat and somebody's floating face down and you say, hey, buddy, are you okay? And they don't move. You wouldn't be like, ooh, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to bother that. No, you'd jump in the water and you'd flip them over. You start doing mouth to mouth. And if suddenly they were like, lady, I was just snorkeling, you'd be like, my bad. And you'd be willing to offend in the name of service. This is not about pleasing potential employers or recruiters. What they think of you is none of your business. You're coming from a place of service. So you want to follow up from that place. It's not pushy. I can't tell you how often I see people on resumes and they have that big block of text at the beginning. If you've got that, get rid of that, right? Because that's not doing anybody any favors, because it's probably a bunch of words about you. It's not helping you. But they say, I know how to take initiative. And then they never follow up. People are going to believe what you show them more than what you tell them. Initiative is rewarded. Show, don't tell. Okay? It's really important. Okay, let's go on to tactic number 7. And this is really important, right? If you're watching this workshop, and especially if you're watching the replay, I'm going to talk really fast because you're already watching at 1.5 speed. I'm going to give you a headache. I like to do that for the people watching the replay just to keep it real for them. Networking. You ever seen the Academy Awards where some movie star gets up there and receives a big prize and they're like, yeah, I got nobody to thank. Nah, that doesn't happen, right? They get up there and I got to thank this person and this person and this person and this person. And they're trying to drag their, right? When people do great things, we don't do it alone. I bet many of you, if I said, okay, folks, you've got 1,000 contacts in your Google contacts. How many of those people know you're on the job search? And you might be like, well, a good number. And I'd say, how many? Well, maybe 250. And I'd say, well, how do they know? Well, I put an open to work banner on my LinkedIn 3 months ago. And I'd say, oh, so those 250 people would have had to go to LinkedIn on that day, seen your profile, and remembered it for these last 3 months. And now you might get a little nervous, and rightfully so, right? When we ask people for help, it's a gift. It's a gift, right? That's right, Eric LeBron. There's no such thing. Unilateral success. It takes a village, baby, right? So like you want to ask your help, right? When we ask people for help and give them, why are you being so stingy with giving people the opportunity to help you? Stop doing that. Ask for help. And you want to have a system for doing it, because doing it as a one-off is exhausting, right? We don't want to have like a fishing pole where we're trying to get the right bait on the right fish at the right time at the right depth. That sounds like painful, right? Instead, we want to filter the ocean. We want to have a system for filtering the ocean of our network, because we don't know where the opportunities are going to show up, and they're almost certainly going to show up where we least expect it. So you want to have a system around networking. No one-offs. All right, let's go on to tactic number 8. We're in the home stretch here, folks. Interviews. Who wants to hear the best interview advice in the world? You may want to write this down, right? That's right, Crystal. 100%. 100%. And Crystal, you know what? We've got a course called, a mini course called How to Contact Anybody. Just if we could, let's send that to Crystal Roberts, right? How to contact anybody. Yeah. And Jason, you know, we're going to come back to you. I hear you about the age thing, man. I hear you. We're going to star you and come back to you. Yeah. You want to be yourself in an interview. And Dane, that's right. You want to be authentic and you want to come from a place of service. Yeah, you bet, Crystal. All right. So interviews, right? Here's the best interview advice in the world. You ready? You may want to write this down. Don't answer their questions. Because really, there's only one reason they're going to hire you. Just one. Do they trust you? That's it. It's not if they like you. It's not if you have the right skills. It's none of that. It's whether they trust you have the right skills. That's it. They trust that you see, hear, and understand them. So an interview is really just them asking the same question over and over in different ways. And what they're really asking is, can we trust you? Can we trust you? But they don't actually say that because of society. That'd be weird. And by the way, if you said yes, they wouldn't believe you because people believe what you show rather than tell. So they ask questions like, tell me about a time you did something, blah, 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 right? And you make mouth noise and they evaluate your mouth noise to judge whether they can trust you. Right? If there was a little translation device, we'd be like, you know, what's your biggest weakness? And I go, blah, 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 blah. Can we trust you? Right? It would just translate. It'd be kind of a funny SNL skit. So you want to tell stories and give responses that strengthen that trust. So when they ask you a question like, tell me about yourself, that's the last thing you want to talk about. Because what they're really asking is, can I trust you? So it's one of the things we help clients do. What do you do if you're socially awkward? Crystal, I really appreciate your question. And Crystal, that's an interesting story you're telling yourself. And it could be, Crystal, that you're not socially awkward. It could be that you feel weird trying to like sell yourself. And so the opportunity for you, Crystal, could be is stop doing that. You don't have to, Crystal. I don't know you at all, Crystal. And I know you're a miracle walking this earth that you can there's probably 100 million employers out there that if they only knew what you could bring to the table, they would be so happy. So part of this is a mindset, Crystal. Yeah, I really appreciate that question. So most people are focused on the questions. Don't answer the question. Give them answers that are going to help build trust. What is the best advice for someone who's been out of court? Yeah, we'll come back to you, Susie. Great one. All right. Final tactic. I know you guys have a lot of questions. It's such a great crowd today. Let's talk about offers. So often I'll run into potential job seekers and I'll be like, are you applying for jobs? And they'll be like, well, Eric, you got to understand, I'm really picky where I apply. And I'd be like, say more. And they'd be like, well, Eric, you see, if I apply to the wrong place, I might not like it. And they're going to make me work 16-hour day and I may have to do cold calls and I got to move the family to Connecticut and I'm like, stop. You don't have to worry about two things in the application process. One, whether you're qualified for a job. They'll let you know. They'll have an opinion, right? And actually, it's not whether you're qualified, it's whether they trust you anyway. So you don't have to worry about that at all. And two, whether you want it. Because unless and until you actually have an offer, you don't know what you're saying yes or no to. So this can be very liberating. Apply from a place of service. Don't worry about whether you want the job or you're qualified unless and until you get an offer. Okay? It's really important. All right, guys, you guys have been such great sports, and we got a lot of questions here. Write this down. 4 strategies, 9 tactics. This is how you get hired fast. So happy to share it with you. Now, look, some of you woke up this morning and you're like, you know what? I've been on this job search. Hopefully today's the day. Today's going to be different. Today's going to be different. I don't know. Maybe this is the thing you've been waiting for, because I suspect what you've been hearing is different from what you've read and heard. And that what you've read and heard put into practice hasn't been working. Hiding your age, worrying about ATS, making your resume look like everybody else, working to sell yourself. Yeah, that doesn't work. Sorry, right? The stuff I'm offering you here, that's a cheesy picture. I'm sorry, right? The stuff I'm offering here is not stuff you can Google. This isn't stuff that I got out of a book. It's stuff that I learned from a long career of accidentally being really successful. And now I bring it to people who are really committed getting a job search, right? And this is stuff works. It's dangerous how well it works. Okay. So I have a program. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, and then we're going to take some questions. It involves a lot of parts, right? We work on these exact things we just talked about, right? Mindset, clarity, right? We work on consistency, systems, narratives. God, my eyes are so bad. I can't even read that small type, but all that stuff. Hopefully you can see it better than I can, right? We work on all of that stuff. Here are some of the people we've worked with, right? There's Jessie. She worked with us and got like 3 job offers before she accepted one, right? There's Rob. He started right at the beginning of his job search because he didn't want his job search to take 9 months. It didn't. He got hired in 8 weeks. There's Wayne, right? Wayne got hired and, but he again got a couple of offers really fast. There's John. He was a tech guy, got hired. There's Amy. She did communications. She got really close a couple times with us, and she got over the finish line working with us, right? There's Jessica. Again, she sort of got the first or second job she really interviewed for. And there's Philip, again, young guy, tech guy. So a lot of people have gotten a lot of great results working with us. There's Angel, who you met before. Okay. So, because some of you are working under the misconception that like you've got time. And I don't know, because look, if this is the annual salary you want to make, the fact, if you're wanting to make this and you're not, this is how much it's costing you per month. And this is how much it's costing you per week. So when we work with people, right, if we can get you hired a couple of weeks faster, it's a wash. And we can almost certainly get you hired faster and put you in a better job, right? And some people are like, well, I'm going to go off and try this on my own. And like I said, they show up about 6 months later. They wind up working with us. They get hired fast, right? I could tell you about the system here, right? I mean, so this is June 3rd that I'm recording this. So right now, the clients we're taking on are probably going to get interviews end of July, and we'll get them. They'll be in a job by Labor Day, right? And the guarantee we offer is that if that doesn't happen, we stay with you until we do. 100% of the people who sign up for my program, who stay with it, they get jobs. Right? We don't leave anybody by the side of the road. And again, my eyes are too bad to read all this exactly, but the gist of it is we're gonna get your resume in shape, your LinkedIn in shape. And again, this isn't like you're working with live people, right? We get your cover letters put together. We give you a system for finding opportunities that speak to you. If you're looking for clarity around what you want to do next, we help you with that. We get your LinkedIn fixed up. We say I'm not sold. Well, Teresa, I'm glad you're not sold. I would be hypocritical if I was working to sell you. So that's good. Hopefully I'm practicing what I preach, right? So like all the things, interviews, networking, right? It's a system. And again, you don't have to worry about whether this works because like we've worked with too many people that it's worked for. Right. So somebody was asking earlier, they were saying, hey, I've been out of work. I can't afford it. We have multiple payment plans that you can start this for as low as $173.21 a month. Right. For people because a lot of times what I run into is people are like, well, hey, can I pay you after I get the job? Not quite and almost. But look, $173 compared to this. I mean, you could keep doing this on your own. And how much is it costing you? Not just like the financial cost, but like the mental cost, right? So yeah. So here's, again, you don't have to ask whether this works. We've just got too many examples of people that it's worked for, tons and tons of testimonials. So that is a lot for a risk. Yeah. Yeah. And again, Teresa, I would just say there's not really a risk here, because the risky thing is to keep doing what you've been doing and thinking you're going to get different results. That's the risk, right? That's the risky thing to do. Yeah, I see you, Vicky. And look, if you can't do $173 a month, like it's 100%, Glenn. People who stay with us it's 100% success rate. They stay with us, they get a job, right? So here's the place to book a call. Hey, Mark Davis, we look forward to, so Mark, you're going to show up, right? We're going to show up. So yeah, the program, Sheila, it's a 3-month program. And usually we get people hired way before that. And it involves a lot of one-on-one coaching, and there's a group component to it. There's I see you there, Robert. And yeah, it is getting the same results and getting insanity. I hear you. And if you've got 45 grandchildren, That's a lot of grandkids. I hear you. And I just wonder if maybe somewhere in your family, somebody be in a position to help you. And if not, that's okay. But here's the thing, folks. If you're hearing that voice, if you're like, you know what, this is different than what I've heard before, I'm at least open to talking about what this would look like for me in terms of making an investment. If you're somebody who's wanting to get started right now, and you're somebody who is not going to schedule the call and then cancel on us, because sometimes people do that and it's really frustrating, then please go to this website. We're going to drop it. That's good, Robert. I'm glad it's only 5, right? We're going to drop the link right now and book a call with us and see what's possible. And again, folks, I just want to and we're going to take some questions now, but sometimes what we'll run into is we'll get people saying, they'll book a call and then they'll ghost, or they'll say, I want to think about it, or they'll say, I can't afford it. Isn't it interesting that that's what employers are currently telling you? Those 3 things. We can't afford you, we're going to ghost you, or we want to think about hiring you. Sometimes the opportunity is to be the change you seek for your consideration. All right, guys, let's take some questions. And again, hopefully that's not, I want you to see my giant head there. There it is. Let's take some questions and let's see who's up first. Okay, Robert, how do I get best AI review of a resume to actually get an interview? So first of all, the last people you want to follow up with in the world are recruiters, because they're like professionally trained ninjas at keeping you away from the hiring manager. Because if you talk to the hiring manager, your recruiters sort of don't need to have a job. They don't need to be there, and they certainly don't need a commission. So the opportunity, Robert, is to find the people who are sitting behind the scenes super frustrated. I don't know what you do, Robert, but they're no, Susie, the call you book here there's no charge for it, right? There's no charge. The only requirement is you're going to show up. You're not going to reschedule on us or ghost us. You're going to, you're ready to get started now, and you're open to make an investment. Teresa, the job we guarantee is the one you want, the one that's going to make your soul sing. That's the one we guarantee, and we'll stay with you for as long as it takes. So, that's the way to circumvent ATS. Okay, sorry, Jesse, you're doing a great job. Put that question you just had back up, please. Okay, so Teresa, again, she says, about them also means how you can sell your gifts. Yeah, so Teresa, we don't want to be in the business of selling our gifts. This isn't about, hey, here's how I can help you. What this is more like, sounds like, is here's what's possible for you. See how I take me completely out of it? That's the opportunity. You're so welcome to that. You're so welcome. All right. What's another question we've got cooking here? Are there different levels for the call? Yeah. So I sometimes I'll get that, Glenn, right? And Glenn, I know you booked a call because you told us you did. So that's great. Sometimes I'll get people ask me that, and I don't do just resumes because it doesn't work, right? Sometimes people will be like, well, I'm just going to hire a resume writer. Some of you may have done that. I know a lot of resume writers that I respect. My experience is that doesn't work because it's more to that. It's your mindset. It's clarity. It's having a system. Just having one piece of it doesn't really work, right? So Ethan says, if we stick with the program and do not get a job within the 3 month, do we receive continuous support? Yeah, you do. You do conceive. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly how it works. That's okay, Glenn. That's okay. And Ethan, Jessa, thanks for jumping around. Ethan, that's exactly right. Yeah, the guarantee is we stay with you until you get hired, as long as you're doing the work, right? So if you're like, hey, I'm sitting here eating bonbons, then we're going to be like, okay. But if you're doing the work and we have a way to track that and stuff, then yeah. And a lot of times people get hired way faster than 3 months. All right, what other questions do we have? I know we're a little tight on time. So Crystal says, I've heard that companies will block you if you do that. Is that also a myth? Crystal, sorry. Maybe, I'm not exactly sure what you meant, but it may be, yeah, it is pretty sharp, Ethan. So it may be that if you reach out, sometimes you'll see listings where it'll say, don't contact us, we'll contact you. And that's sort of like somebody who's drowning and you say, are you drowning? And they're like, and they're clearly drowning, right? We want to be willing to offend in the name of service. And a lot of times people who put up, don't contact us, are just recruiters that definitely don't want you to recruit the hiring manager, because they're not doing it from a place of service. They're doing it from a place of, I don't want my job to be threatened, right? So Nisha, I struggle with confidence and I don't know how to be confident in myself, my abilities. Nisha, I really hear you on that. Yeah, and you're not alone, Nisha. That's one of the things we help people with. That's why just having a resume, that's not probably going to help your confidence, right? Or having somebody apply for you or network for you. It's one of the things that I think really helps clients we work with get traction, is because the one thing you want to give them, Nisha, is safety And if psychological safety, and if you yourself don't feel safe, it's hard to give that to a potential employer and they'll smell it. And some people say, well, I'm a good faker. Nah, they smell it, because remember, it's authenticity, it's trust, and that's hard to fake, right? Susie says, you work with people looking for high level positions. Sure, I do. Absolutely, Susie. Like, yeah, I mean, like, I think I got a client a job one time where he was making 800,000. So yeah, I've never made that much in a year. I don't know about you, but like, yeah, we work with people at all different levels. Okay, we got to, is it inappropriate to follow up with the owner of a company? So Glenn, if we're going to be in the business of being willing to offend in the name of service, we're not going to be so worried about what's appropriate, right? Would it be appropriate if somebody was drowning to like cut their legs and we pulled them up on a boat to save their life? We wouldn't be worrying about what's appropriate, right? If we were going to give somebody the Heimlich and they threw up, would we be worrying about what's appropriate? Nah. So we're not worried about what's appropriate, right? Robert says, thanks for the information. I see how my budget is. Have to run to perform an audit. Audit patient safety first. Okay, good luck, Robert. So let's talk about age, Teresa. I see you there. You know, there's one reason that people are going to hire you. And it's not, all industries, Susie. That's 100% right. I can't think of one we haven't worked with. And thanks for asking that, because it's something I sort of not great to talk about. And I know a lot of my examples are like early professionals. And so I appreciate you asking about that. But yeah, no, it's all levels, all industries. I appreciate you asking that. But Teresa, like, I hear you about the age thing. I think we have a client right now who's 79. I don't know how old you are, Teresa. But like the one reason they're going to hire you is if they trust you. And Teresa, if you've got a resume where you're like hiding your age, or maybe you've only gone back 10 or 15 years, right? Remember, Teresa, it's never the scandal. It's always the cover up. So if the reason they're going to hire you is that they trust you, and you come out of the gate by saying, I don't trust you not to, hey, Sabine, we're looking forward to talking to you. You're going to show up. We're going to get your job stuff handled, right? If you show up and you basically say, I don't trust you, I'm going to hide my age, then that just destroys trust with them. It actually does the opposite of what you wanted to do, Teresa. I hope that serves you. Guys, I'm sensitive to the time. I'm going to ask, take one more question. A bunch of you have signed up for calls. We're just really excited to get this handled for you. And again, folks, if you're like, thinking that this program isn't for you, like, look, I'm in like a t-shirt today. I'm a normal person, right? Like, this isn't fancy. I'm not trying to like take your money and run to Mexico. Like, I'm just a coach, and we get people hired fast because we do things a little bit differently. And if you're afraid, I hear it. And I would encourage you to be afraid and take action. Action is what's going to solve this for you. So, Jessa, do we have one more question? It's okay if we don't. Jessa, you've done a great job today. It's okay if we don't, Jessa. It's okay. So yeah, here we go. Susie, what's the best advice for someone who's been out of corporate America for a while? Yeah, so sometimes, Susie, people worry about the gap. Again, the one reason they're going to hire you is not because of your age or whether or not you've not had a gap or your skills. It's, do they trust you? And if you've been out of corporate America, that's fine, because that's not what they're asking. What they're asking is, hey, you're so welcome, Susie, right? What they're really asking is, hey, does Susie understand us? Does she hear us? So look, guys, if you've been on the job hunt for a while, or you're watching the replay of this recording, I just really want to acknowledge you. You don't have to do this alone. If you've been spending a lot of time and money getting the same results by doing the same thing over and over and over, my invitation to you is like, get some help, take some action. You're so welcome, Anthony. You're so welcome, Bobby, right? You don't have to do this alone. Like, we have the answer. We've cracked the code. This isn't stuff you're going to find anywhere else. This is different. It's unique, and it's available to you right now. So I'm just cheering for you all the way. So appreciate you being there. Jason, we look forward to talking to you, and all of you who booked a call or who are about to. And if you have trouble finding a time, just message us and we'll get it handled. All right, my friends, really acknowledge you. Thank you for being awesome. And for those of you who booked a call and who are ready to get this stuff handled, just look forward to talking. See you soon, my friends. Take care.